There is no scientific field as prolific and fast-moving as the field of stem cell and hormonal replacement. Since 2014, there have been 2,500 scientific studies on stem cell treatments. Scala Precision Health helps physicians source the best companies and treatment while helping navigate all the hype and misinformation. Too many companies are offering slick marketing and lack of support for patient outcomes. Scala Precision Health developed diet, nutritional, and hormonal support that assists with stem cell therapy for better patient outcomes. Here to discuss further is none other than Russ Scala himself. Russ, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Got some new information to share.
You do, yes.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm excited for that because in our last conversation, we were with Brooke and we were discussing some of the new developments that you guys have worked on together.
Yeah, Brooke, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. The reason I partnered with Brooke like 7 months ago was she's been immersed herself in 3 different fields.
Yeah.
Okay, she's been an athlete, was in a car accident where she had to use stem cell therapy. She worked for a biologics company that was all about marketing and not giving people, the best product. So because she's immersed herself in these fields, that Brooke did, she developed her own company, and I just saw a great synergy there. I wanted to develop a blue ocean strategy for her with our dialogue back and forth because she's training physicians right now, and I'm trying to help her develop how we could get better outcomes. Okay, so
Absolutely.
The video we shot was amazing. It's on the Russ Scala YouTube channel.
Yes, and I'll interrupt. If you guys haven't seen that video yet, make sure you head to the Russ Scala YouTube channel because it was a really great conversation that we had with Brooke.
Right, and understanding how stem cell therapy works, training people how to ask the tough questions, and then having Brooke or I help you navigate this system that a lot of times just uses slick marketing. When I talked to about 15 physicians over a period of 2 months, and it basically came down to this: Doc, you're using stem cell therapy. What do you think? How do you like it? How is your outcomes? And a lot of the physicians had one thing across the board: the stem cell therapy or the Wharton's jelly or the exomes did not respond to 20 to 40% of the patients, and they had nothing in their toolbox. So this is what we bring here. We're bringing a toolbox to these physicians to do pre and post stem cell treatment so they have better outcomes. And I just wrapped up 6 months of research in a short paragraph, but that's what we're doing in a blue ocean strategy that Brooke and I have partnered on to educate these physicians to really stand alone in the demographic or in their city.
Absolutely. And something you touched on, the slick marketing that is so rampant out there. And part of that involves a lot of misinformation, right?
Right.
Can you touch on some of that misinformation that people should try to avoid?
Yeah, some of the stem cell therapies are $2,000 to $8,000 an injection. When a physician says that if you're going to go get knee surgery or we could give you the stem cell therapy and it's going to alleviate all that, your problems will be over, that's not really true. Okay, now the mesenchymal stem cells are really interesting because they come from the umbilical cord and they can differentiate into many different tissues of the body. Yeah. I study the top stem cell companies that are on the New York Stock Exchange. I look at their clinical trials, what's coming out. It's going to be an amazing time for all of us. I mean, living in this time right now, using natural stem cells and hormone replacement is going to easily let people live way past 100 with a great quality of life. I know, it sounds crazy, right? Because we all got in our mind what an elderly person is. Right. I used to take people into nursing homes when I was as a paramedic in the 80s, and I always wondered, I pull them over onto my stretcher, they're 85 pounds, there's no food in their refrigerator, orange juice, milk, multiple medications. Is that really healing somebody? No. Right? And then fast forward, I used to work in anti-aging centers around the United States, developing them, training the physicians. And just with the hormonal replacement therapy, I saw people get their life back, 60, 70, and 80. And the funny thing is as this chart is, we elevate IGF-1 and we elevate and optimize the hormonal levels in men and women.
Right.
It increases stem cells. So what Brooke and I discussed and what I helped develop for her is the synergy of hormone replacement therapy and stem cell therapy. It's going to improve the quality of life for the elderly population.
And just from my understanding, do stem cells work for everyone? Is that across the board? Anyone can use this therapy and technology?
Well, a lot of, for injuries to the bone, overuse injuries, it's very, very popular. But now, sooner than later, the stem cells are going to be utilized to rehab organ functions, to rehab the pancreas, the heart. They've done some injections after a heart attack using stem cell therapy, and it grew new heart tissue. So when somebody has brain trauma, these stem cells are going to increase the development of neurogenesis to stimulate new brain tissue. That's why it's so exciting, because these are natural occurring things in our body, stem cells, and natural occurring. When somebody's in their 20s, for instance, if they were to fall and cut their knee, they heal really quickly because of stem cell therapy.
Of course.
Now, if somebody in their 60s falls and cuts their knee,
story.
that takes a long time, and then they get a scar. A scar is actually lack of stem cells, right? So, a cell in the body will divide about 30 to 50 times. That's called the Hayflick effect, and then the cell dies. It's called apoptosis. We need to understand how stem cells work. We're helping the doctors understand that the treatment protocol for somebody that comes into your office that is 30 pounds overweight, they got a high inflammation markers in their body, there's some things you need to do before you do that stem cell therapy to make the therapy work better. And that's what we're providing the physician. We're helping them with the blood work and what to order, and we're actually training the physician right now so they get better outcomes. And again, it's natural occurring things in the body. It's much better than drugs, right?
That's the thing. We're not talking about synthetic things. This is actually, stuff that that is natural, as you're saying.
Exactly. It's amazing. We could look at stem cells and look at the development of a child as a child develops in the womb, outside the womb, as a child ages. That's all about stem cell and hormone therapy. That's allowing the organs to grow, the brain to grow, the heart to grow. And I think, like I said, the research, new research is coming out every week, and it's really fascinating, and it's good to be on the tip of the spear like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I understand you have a garden analogy that's very relevant for this conversation. Can we talk about that?
The garden analogy.
Seeds in the garden will resonate with people.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm always trying to come up with things to help people understand.
Yeah.
So you look at the younger body; it's like a great garden with all the nutrients in it, and the seeds are the stem cells. Everything works fine. As you get older, that garden and the soil or the internal mechanisms of the body aren't working as well. So we've got to optimize the garden, optimize the hormonal levels before you plant the seeds or the stem cells. Did that make sense?
Yeah, okay. The soil needs more nutrients to be fruitful and to produce crops.
A younger child that does stem cell, a younger person, their soil is filled with nutrients. An older person that does stem cell, the soil we need to reinfuse the soil, or what that means is we need to optimize a hormone therapy so the stem cells will work. So that was good. I forgot about that.
Very helpful analogy. Thank you. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Some of our viewers probably are learning as we're talking just about this.
No, that's why
topic.
I love your interviews, because I forget so much stuff. Some days I got to talk to a doctor, and other days I got to talk to a mom. Yeah. And sometimes I get my wires crossed. And then the mom looks at me, and I'm losing her, and she's so kind not to say what, but thank you.
Of course. I want to touch on barriers to entry on marketing.
Right.
How do we kind of combat that, and what are some of those barriers?
I think one of the things is that Brooke Morrisseau and I partnered on is, as we meet physicians, there's a certain type of physician that wants to be an innovator, a certain type of physician that wants to stand out and do a really good job. I could tell within an hour phone call of a due diligence whether this physician just wants to make money, and there's nothing wrong with making money, if he wants to just make money, or does he really want to dive in and do this the right way. So the barriers to entry are a physician that just want to inject the stem cells, and for $2,000 to $8,000, you got to come back every month or every 6 months, or do you want to do it the right way and really help the patient? You see, that's one of the barriers to entry, and the other is the other stem cell companies out there that are using slick marketing and pricing, saying that we're the best. I think that's where Brooke really stands out, because she understands the good and bad stem cell companies. She knows the questions to ask, and she knows how to steer a doctor in the right direction.
So if we have physicians watching this right now and they hear us talking about the slick marketing, this misinformation, and they want to support this research, they don't want to be lumped in that category with the slick marketing, what can they do? How can they advertise these new stem cell therapy treatments in a way that is honoring?
Okay, we have a marketing team, and I help with developing the content, just like with what you guys are doing here.
Okay.
You guys are going to help us create videos for the physicians to watch, and that's going to be part of their training.
Okay.
Right? So they could ask the right questions. You know, physicians are inundated with what? Pharmaceutical reps come through the door every day. They're inundated with information at the physician conferences, and very few of them think outside the box. Some of them are handcuffed by the standard of care. But with stem cells now, the FDA approved some of it. Some of the stem cells you have to go to Mexico or Cancun to do the advanced stuff, but it soon will be here, because every time it works on somebody, they're documenting the outcomes, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating.
And I want to go back to one of our most vulnerable populations, the elderly, and you
Right.
touched on them earlier with regards to stem cells. What are you doing differently in your treatment with the elderly? Because a lot of physicians aren't naturally trained in these treatments with elderly patients.
Yeah, well, we always say with the elderly, you got to meet them where they are. You got to do different blood work, and we do blood work that looks at all hormonal levels and nutritional levels. We explain to the doctor or the elderly patient, you are not what you eat, you are what you absorb. So every day they need about 21 minerals, 13 vitamins, 9 amino acids, and 2 essential fats. If the elderly are not pulling the nutrients out of their intestinal tract, they're going to mine it from their own tissue and start muscle wasting.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we want to avoid that. Like when I was taking people into nursing homes, they were like 85 pounds. All their muscle was gone. Dr. Peter Attia said, he's one of the influencers that talks about anti-aging. He said if a 60-year-old person breaks their hip and they go in the hospital, the chances of them coming out, they're going to end up dying in the hospital. And the reason is your muscles are a reservoir for vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Keeps you alive.
Yeah.
When you're not eating. So we know an elderly person is not pulling nutrients out of food, so we got to balance the intestinal tract. We got to optimize all their hormone levels, right? Testosterone, progesterone, thyroid, T3 and T4. What are their cortisol levels? If an elderly person has very high cortisol levels, it shuts off everything. Now, IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, when that's elevated, that means the stem cells are going to be working fine, and they're creating enough nutrients to maintain their body. So we create this is mind-boggling, but whatever your weight is, you create that ATP every day, the energy. You create your own body weight ATP.
That weight, of
because
course.
your brain is highly metabolically active. Your heart beats 100,000 times a day. That needs nutrients, that needs stem cells, right?
Amazing.
You know something?
This technology and just this research, the world it could open up as far as treatments and saving people, all kinds of things. It's incredible. And
I read books all the time on the cutting edge, what the cutting edge doctors are doing. And what's always interesting, there's always some doctor in some unknown city in some small town that's making these advances. And I'm like, God love that guy. You know what I mean? And he's not with any pharmaceutical, or he's not being paid, but it's just, he's curious, he understands the physiology, and he's willing to try new things. And I always learn from the doctors that are doing advanced therapies, and also from the influencers, people that have healed themselves. Listen to their story. Very important, right? Very important.
Amazing. Well, I think we're very lucky to have you here and to have you sharing this information with us. And I know we can't get into this whole conversation in just one episode, so make sure you all continue to stay tuned for more. I want to thank you, Russ, for joining us today.
Sure.
And again, with the conversation with Brooke Morrisseau, please head over to the Scala Precision Health YouTube channel to see more of this conversation and more, because you just have such a wealth of knowledge, and we're very grateful to have you on the show. Thank you.